Have you ever walked away from a conversation with a friend feeling so drained? Well, today I'm sharing a story of a friendship that shook my faith, strained my marriage, and taught me the hard truth about when to let go. If you've ever wondered whether a relationship is worth saving or if it's time to choose your peace, this episode is for you. Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy. I'm your host, Kendra Nielson, and today we're talking about a challenging topic that many of us face, and that's recognizing when it's time to let go of toxic friendships or relationships. This episode is for anyone who's ever felt stuck in a relationship that no longer serves them, or those of you that are unsure of how to move forward. I've talked about this a little bit in the past before, but I've had several more clients come to me sharing similar stories and feeling really lost about what to do. And I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning with this distinct feeling or impression that this is something I should speak to again. And sometimes I think, well, I've shared that enough. But I think there's different ways to approach it or different things to say that could still continue to help people. And it is always my hope and my prayer that I can help you improve your life and flourish and thrive more than ever before. And sometimes that means letting go. Let me start here with my own story. Some of you might recognize elements of this that I've told before. I am going to try to be respectful of other people that might be listening that might know some of this, but I'll share what I can here. So I had a best friend for years, and I thought that we'd always be close. Like I saw her multiple times a day often. We'd work out together early in the morning and we'd go back and forth to each other's houses. We'd be texting throughout the day. It was just that beautiful relationship where you had so much fun. You felt so connected. It was just easy. It was simple. You got along so well. I didn't think anything could go amiss because we didn't have any problems. We just had fun. We smiled, we laughed, we played. We did everything. We did chores and big projects together. We did errands together, all of the things, girls' trips, whatever it might be. We had so many good memories. And yet, as time passed, we each started to change a little bit. And I noticed some shifts in our dynamic. It started with her changing her values and being on a different page with things like faith or what the family dynamic looked like or different things like that. And I was open to talking about those things, and we did talk about them to some degree. But more and more, I felt misunderstood, criticized, or dismissed. And I left those conversations feeling confused or drained or even a little bit hurt. Like maybe we weren't going the same direction anymore. And this turning point came, and I was really resistant to doing anything about it because I remembered that huge tank of all those good memories, all those beautiful things in our relationship. So I let it go on for a long time until she somewhat made that choice for me. She started to pull away a lot, and that was very hurtful. I tried to communicate with her. I tried to understand. She just said nothing was wrong. And it was very confusing, incredibly hurtful. And I kept trying to give her the benefit of the doubt over and over again. But ultimately, as she pulled away and there was more space, I started to realize how much she had been affecting my life. Not like she was trying to harm me or anything like that, but I noticed that my relationship with my husband wasn't as strong. As I went to her to talk through things, my husband became less of my person in many ways. And I noticed that as she was going through a faith crisis, it was affecting my own in ways I didn't even recognize. And those are just a couple of the ways that it was affecting it. I was also feeling very sad and lonely and disconnected, and that was affecting my family life as well. I found myself often second-guessing my decisions and a little bit more stressed and overwhelmed. And there was this negativity in the home that wasn't there as much before. Now, I'm not laying all of this at her feet, but I was seeing the ripples of this increasingly unhealthy friendship dynamic. And I didn't want to abandon that. I wanted to keep giving it a chance despite me not being treated very well, or despite her starting to create connections with other people that were more willing to switch their values or had lifestyles like she wanted to adopt. And the hardest part was watching that happen, to be left behind and knowing that I could join in that. I could jump back in and keep my place as her best friend if I was willing to abandon my values. Now, she wasn't necessarily asking me to do that, but it was somewhat between the lines. Like the people that she connected with more and more moving forward had a very different lifestyle than I did. And I had to do some serious introspection on if I wanted to stay with her along that ride, as fun and bright and vibrant as it looked, or if I was going to stay true to my own values that I still very much believed in and reverenced, especially when it came to faith. Recently, I've been thinking a lot about that journey as other clients have shared very similar things. Like there's this giant sense of shame that happens when, despite how their friend is treating them or how toxic it might feel or challenging it might feel, there's this reluctance to let it go, to walk away, because they don't want to abandon their friend or they don't want to be that person that let something go just because there was a shift in values. It can be very complicated, very difficult to navigate and know when to let go. I'm going to give you a few tips on ways you can identify if this friendship or even relationship is toxic and if maybe it's a good time to let it go. It's almost like a movie. Like you might be thinking, well, of course you would just let that friendship go. Like that doesn't make sense to hold on to it. But when it's your own life, it is so much more complicated and so much harder to see clearly. So for those of you that feel a little confused, here is a quick assessment to determine if maybe this is a relationship that no longer serves you. Ask yourself these 5 questions. Number 1, after spending time with this friend, do you feel energized or exhausted? Number 2, does your friend celebrate your successes or do they seem to downplay or ignore them? Number 3, is there a balance in how much you give and receive in the friendship? Number 4, does your friend respect your boundaries and your values? Number 5, do you feel safe sharing your thoughts and feelings with this person? Now, if you answered negatively to most of those questions, it might be time to reevaluate this friendship, as hard as that is. But before you make any big decisions, let's explore what toxic relationships are. I know toxic is kind of a buzzword, and I don't overly like it because it is a massive judgment, and we all have different definitions of what toxic can look like. But I want to explain it a little deeper, and you can better understand if this really is toxic. So a toxic relationship is a connection that causes more stress or anxiety and harm than positive emotions and growth. So like in the case of my friend, it got to this place where I was so confused and conflicted and hurt and really everything. It was sadness, it was anger, it was all of the things. And so much less of those positive emotions, that fun, that growth, that connection, that give and take that there once was. Dr. Lillian is a communication and psychology expert, and she defines a toxic person as anyone who is abusive, unsupportive, or unhealthy emotionally. Someone who basically brings you down more than up. Now, in the case of my friends, and I think a lot of people out there, it's almost like a spectrum, like maybe very toxic versus a little bit toxic. In the case with my friend, I don't think she was very toxic, but I do think the whole experience was very negative and unhealthy for me. And I don't think either of us were able to be our best selves in that friendship anymore. But for some of you, maybe these relationships really are further along and more toxic. Here's another thing that Dr. Lillian said. Toxic people are manipulative. They want to get people to do what they want them to do. It's all about them. They use other people to accomplish whatever their goal happens to be. Forget what you want. This is not about equality in a relationship. Far from it. And that is from a psychologist, Abigail Brené. So many of us out there struggle to leave those toxic friendships due to that complicated grief, that shame, that misplaced loyalty. And that complicated grief happens when the normal grieving process is interrupted. And that's often due to that complex nature of the relationship we're grieving. I talked about shame being an aspect of it, especially when there's a change in personality or a change in values. And Dr. Brené Brown said this about shame is the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. Does part of you feel that you are unworthy of love and belonging when you feel rejected by your friend? You feel that they are not as loyal as they once were, or if you feel that they don't care about you as much, or maybe even there's not that give and take. Maybe you feel like you're being manipulated or used, or that you are not valued for who you are and you need to change. Any of these things can make us feel like we deserve that poor treatment we're receiving, and maybe that we are the failures for not making that friendship work. We also might feel guilty for considering ending that friendship, especially if it's a long-standing one. Like I definitely did, even though she was the one pulling away and she was the one changing that dynamic so intensely with her shift in her life and her beliefs and all of those things that were happening. And I wanted to be there to support her and love her no matter how she was changing, because I had that long-standing loyalty with her and that love for her. And yet ultimately it was hurting me so much and my family and my marriage and my faith that to move forward would have been self-sacrificing in a way that would have been hard to come back from. I was not my best self for a long time, and it still hurts when I think back on it. That whole experience of rejection and minimizing and not validating my experience and change and loss for something that was so strong and beautiful and close for so long. So how do you heal? How do you let go? This is a long process that I am still going through. But here are some small, simple things that you can do. Acknowledge your feelings. Talk to somebody. It's okay to feel that grief, that anger, that confusion, that betrayal, that sadness and loss. These emotions are valid, and it took me a while to get there because I was embarrassed and hurt and confused. You can practice that self-compassion and treat yourself like you treat a close friend with that unconditional love. The third thing you can do is set some very clear boundaries, maybe get the help of your spouse or something else about what you will and will not accept according to what is good for your mental health and wellness, and that will help you become your best self. If it does not serve you and help you become your best, for either one especially, then boundaries are needed to make it so it will be a thriving environment instead of something that will tear you down. It's also very important to seek support, especially when you're feeling so alone and conflicted. So that could be family members, that could be a therapist, somebody that you admire, and not somebody that is just going to fuel that fire. It's also very important during times like this to focus on self-care. Do the things that will bring you peace and joy when you're feeling very conflicted and alone and probably depressed. And last but not least, you can reframe that narrative. And sometimes this takes a little while and we jump to it too quickly. But instead of seeing that friendship as a failure and an ending, instead view it as an act of self-respect and growth in leaving that friendship behind. Like you love and you respect yourself so much and your family relationships that you know your higher self and your best self needs to walk away. And you could do that with your head up, even though there's sadness and grief there for doing so. Here are some very quick, simple questions to ask yourself as you consider whether it's time to end that friendship. Does this friendship align with my values and the person I want to be? How would my life be different without this friendship? Am I staying in this friendship out of fear or obligation rather than genuine connection? If a loved one were in this situation, what advice would I give them? And lastly, does this friendship support my growth and my well-being? My friends, just remember that choosing to end a friendship isn't about blame or punishment, but it's about making a healthy choice for you and your family. It's about becoming who you were meant to become instead of what is comfortable or that sense of loyalty that you felt or any of those things. And just to quickly recap some of those things that we talked about, toxic friendships can negatively impact so many areas of our lives, including our faith, our relationships, our mental health. And it's crucial to understand those signs of that toxic friendship and understand that it's okay to prioritize our well-being. Letting go of these relationships can be painful and have very complicated grief that can honestly last years. So it's important to seek support as we learn to let go of that shame, that guilt, that complicated grief. My friends, you deserve friendships that will uplift and support you. It's not selfish to choose something that will help you become who you were meant to become, for not only your sake, but the health of your family and those in your sphere of influence as well. Thank you for joining me on Fulfillment Therapy, and best of luck finding that courage and finding the clarity to move forward in better, healthier relationships, and clearing out all that brush so that you can have more meaningful, impactful, and even stronger relationships in the days ahead. Thank you for joining me on Fulfillment Therapy. Until next time, this is Kendra Nielson wishing you fulfillment and peace on your journey to better mental health and wellness. I will see you back here in just a few days. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you, no matter what your house or your hair looks like. I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then.